make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's March 28th here in Seoul. I'm Shin, and this is News Generation, where we make the news at Arirang's very own open studio. Every morning, we'll discuss the top issues and latest current affairs affecting people in their 20s and 30s. Joining me in the studio is Choi Ji-hee.
Good morning, Yoon.
And Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
And both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. Now, we're going to start with the news feed. Every day, we make a news feed that covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. And the first hashtag is fact check. That's what company Buhayu is trying to do in essays written by ChatGPT within this year. Buhayu is already a veteran in detecting plagiarism with its copy killer software. By developing a new service, this company aims to check whether the facts provided by AI chatbot ChatGPT are correct or not. It will look into hundreds of other credible sources and documents from different ministries and institutes to see if the facts provided by ChatGPT are actually credible. And the second hashtag is Maxim. Song Rina, a Korean professor working at the University of London, has been sued by her ex-husband demanding custody rights over their 7-year-old child after finding out that Song had taken part in a men's magazine pageant. Now, Song said she rightfully participated in Miss Maxim contest to go against people that frowned upon women of her age or profession from doing stuff like this. And the last hashtag is Chun Woo-won, grandson of the late former Korean president Chung Joon, who has been exposing his family's criminal records like fraud. And Chun Woo-won flew in from New York to Korea on Tuesday to apologize to the victims and bereaved families of the 1980 Gwangju pro-democracy movement. Now, his grandfather had seized power through a military coup and during the process brutally suppressed thousands of Gwangju residents. Now, why don't we talk about the second hashtag in more detail, Maxim? Professor Song's ex-husband said that his ex-wife wasn't in the right state of mind or setting a good example to their child by partaking in a male magazine contest. So, Walter, I would first like to ask what you think about this story.
Okay, so let me clear some things up first. For those who don't know, Maxim is one of the world's most popular men's magazines, and it's seen some of the world's most influential females on their covers and also in the magazines themselves. The main complaint, I guess, is that it sexualizes women, but women are also choosing to go into this magazine. Like Professor Song said, like she did it to go against people that frowned upon women in her age group or her profession from doing stuff like this. But I see this as a powerful statement and liberty for women, actually, instead. I mean, I've seen these pictures and honestly, they're not as, let's say, risque as what we see on Instagram these days.
Definitely. It is a powerful statement, and that's why Professor Song was really proud to appear on Maxim, because she wanted to break societal stereotypes. And what do you think about this, Ji-hee?
Well, I personally want to applaud Professor Song for doing what she did, because I think it was really courageous, and not everyone can do what she did just to break that societal stereotypes that we were talking about.
Right.
And it was really her choice to join this contest. It's her own freedom to do so, and it's her right. So I don't think her ex-husband has any reason or right to claim that she was like less of a mom for doing so. I mean, what are moms supposed to look like then?
Right. What is the stereotypical mom supposed to look like? All right, and that was our news feed for this Tuesday. And let's change gears to our discussion topic of the day. South Korea has been known for its extremely high beauty standards. Some say they're to the point where they seem impossible to achieve. And that's why some choose to go as far as getting plastic surgery to meet these relatively impossible standards. Take a look at the screen. South Korea is known as the plastic surgery capital of the world. That's because there's so much demand for it and because surgeons here are highly skilled. A third of Korean women aged 19 to 29 have had surgery before. Some foreigners even come to South Korea just for plastic surgery. It's called a plastic surgery package, where foreign tourists jump from hospital to hospital and get different procedures. Today, News Gen looks at 3 questions. 1. What are the new generation's beauty standards these days in Korea? 2. What do youngsters think of getting plastic surgery? 3. How have beauty standards changed over time? How does our generation define beauty and standards? So today we're going to be talking about changing beauty standards among millennials and Gen Z, and it's a topic of interest to many youngsters in Korea, especially since surveys show 4 out of 10 people in their 20s have had experience getting some sort of procedure done. So what about our panelists in the studio? To find out what they think about plastic surgery in general, I have an OX quiz prepared. It's been a long time since we've done this, right?
Right. I'm excited.
Yes, and the first question I'd like to ask you both is, if you did, would you be able to share with everyone that you've had plastic surgery before? Now, ready? You had some time to think about it?
Yep.
All right, then Walter, what's your answer?
I think I'm gonna have to do this and just spin my little OX because, listen, if I had minor surgery, let's say like double eyelid surgery, I think that's less noticeable and more subtle, so therefore I don't think I would need to tell anybody.
Right.
However, if I get, let's say, a larger surgery like the butt implants that I'm choosing to get hopefully very soon, then obviously that's something I can't avoid. People are gonna see my very new round bottom and I can't avoid that, so yeah.
Right.
It's quite fascinating how you consider double eyelid surgery to be, relatively a small procedure.
Compared to my butt surgery, yeah.
All right, but what about you, Chihi? The same question goes for you.
Well, my answer would be quite similar to Walter. It's an O and an X because if I had a plastic surgery, I would be comfortable to tell or share it with the people I trust and am comfortable with. And if it's something like eyelid surgery or something that's not too obvious and looks very natural, then I wouldn't go first and reveal it unless people ask me about it. But at the same time, I think it's quite rude if people ask you blatantly about your facial features and ask, oh, yeah, did you get a nose job? It could be rude.
Right. So you consider it to be personal matters. Then the second question is, would you be okay to later find out that your partner had plastic surgery? And the point here is you later find it out. Starting with Walter, what do you think about that?
Again, this one's a bit of a yes and no because it would just depend on how much my partner's face had changed from the past. But if I asked my partner and she denied it, and I found out later on, that she had all this surgery done, of course I would be upset because I base my relationships on honesty, and I've asked her, even though that she may feel like she's embarrassed, I still want her to be very honest with me. So if my wife is watching, that's just a little clue that just be honest with me.
It's not about whether she had it or not. I think it comes down to honesty, right?
Honesty, yes.
Honesty is the best policy.
It is.
Right.
And Sihu, what about you?
Well, I'll be okay to find out later that my partner had a plastic surgery. If he had gotten it because he had like a facial appearance related complex and he wanted to cover that up with a plastic surgery, I'll be totally fine. And if he was honest with it, like Walter said, I'll be totally fine with it. But if he was a completely different person in the past and had a complete changeover from head to toe, then I think it will be a little different for me. I don't know, because it seems like I'm meeting someone completely different,
I see.
But as long as the person is happy with his looks at the moment, then I think I'll be okay with that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's based on self-satisfaction. And if my partner chooses what to do, I think as long as he or she is honest about it and it's done out of self-satisfaction, it would be okay. But why don't we put the OX signs off? Because I would like to ask another question to Chihi. So it's no question that a lot of people, especially the new generation, are talking about plastic surgery and beauty standards. But see, why are young people so interested in these cosmetic procedures?
Well, there are many reasons why the younger generation are so interested in plastic surgeries. If we can take a look at the screen together, a survey conducted by COSIS in 2020 on South Koreans aged 18 to 34, they're basically the millennials and the Gen Zs, it revealed that youngsters get plastic surgeries for the following reasons. So 19.4% of the respondents said looks are important in life, and 12.5% said low self-confidence was in their looks was the reason. And the number one reason, which accounted for 64.7%, was out of self-satisfaction, like we were talking about. And there are some other reasons as well. For example, the fact that it might help with job seeking as well as dating or getting married. But their percentages were relatively lower, accounting for 2% and 1.4% respectively.
And that's a quite interesting survey right there, with 64.7% saying that they're doing it out of self-satisfaction. And I think a lot of new gen, like the Gen Z and millennials, think that beauty can be expressed via self-satisfaction.
Right.
So beauty standards have been changing over time. And Walter, what do you think the current generation then thinks to be of a very beautiful person?
Like, you're right. So they have been changing over time. So a good indicator of what I guess South Korean beauty standards are, let's say, they're celebrities who we follow or even the influencers. So back in the past, not too long ago, because they're still relevant, people like Kim Tae-hee or Song Hye-kyo, or personally my favorite, I always tell people this, Chun Ji-hyun.
Amazing.
Me too.
Absolutely amazing. These women have these perfect features, large eyes, maybe sharp chins, perfect nose. However, I believe these days the trend maybe is changing towards more customization. Well, I guess, example, Kim Go-eun or Kim Da-mi or Park So-dam. They're very different from who I mentioned earlier. Smaller eyes, softer features. So it does seem that there might be a little bit of a change, but not just for women, but for men as well. I do know that because of K-dramas and those handsome men that come on the K-pop music videos as well, have been influencing a lot of foreign males to change their appearance as well to suit the Korean look.
So there is definitely that consideration of a Korean look, but I feel that the new generation doesn't seem to confine itself with a specific standard or define beauty as like a specific trend.
Right.
Rather, they acknowledge that there's a big spectrum and that
Right.
there's diversity for sure. And I'm wondering if this has shaken up the cosmetic surgery industry at all.
Well, it definitely did. Nowadays, there's a new trend in the cosmetic surgery industry where people no longer ask for facial features that are similar to the typical beauty looks. Just like Walter said before about the typical celebrities that we thought were really beautiful. And nowadays, people focus more on having their own unique looks
Right.
that suit their face. Instead of having a standard type of eye, nose, or chin, they look for the features that are aesthetically pleasing and suit their own distinctive characteristics of
It's
their
all
face.
about customization.
Exactly, exactly. And also another trend among the new generation is that they can get a lot of information related to cosmetic surgery online through apps. So they can find the right hospital, they can read reviews of other people who've gotten these operations, and they can also really get customized counseling or advice from these hospitals all online. So you don't have to go through the hassle of visiting hospitals in person to get to get a plastic surgery you do, but for information you can get it all online.
Yeah, definitely. Technology has helped people who are looking for more information, especially with sensitive and very important procedures like cosmetic surgery. You
Right.
need more information out there. And we're now going to include a surgeon in our talks right after this. All right, let's now include a Korean plastic surgeon in our talks. It's Dr. Chung Joon from Mi Clinic in Seoul. Welcome, Dr. Chung.
Hello, I'm Dr. John.
All right,
Nice to
Dr.
meet you. Yeah, I'm not a native speaker, so please understand my English not is very good.
That's fine.
It's completely fine. It's just a pleasure to have you with us, Dr. Chung. And
Yeah,
so,
it's my pleasure.
all right, so I would like to ask you the first question. South Korea is known as the capital of plastic surgery in the world, and I hear a lot of patients come visit you from abroad. So explain to us how popular and well known is Seoul for its cosmetic surgery techniques?
Yeah, everybody calls the Seoul is the cosmetic plastic surgery capital of the world. Simply the size, the Gangnam district, Seoul district, is only about the size of the Manhattan. It's very small, but there are around the 1,000 plastic surgery and cosmetic clinic business places in this very small district. So that's one of the reason how popular it is, because we share the knowledges and skills with this very limited space. There are a lot of doctors and very renowned and popular doctors. And also you talked about some K-drama stuff, K-pop stuff, with a very recent popularity. That might be some of the reason, but it's still the main reason is the quality, I have to say.
And
Around the 60% of my clients from they are inbound traffic foreigners, not the foreigners actually living here right now.
And so which technology or surgery is South Korea most well known for?
Which technology? Just about everything.
Oh, wow.
From the reconstruction, eyes and nose, bodies, and recently, the average population, the average age is getting getting old very rapidly right now, right? So the proportion of the middle-aged, the population in a huge surge right now. So the market is shifting from the some facial and body to the anti-aging rejuvenation, some kind of lifting stuff. Yeah, pretty recently.
I see. Well, Dr. John, I also have a question for you. As we mentioned in our talks, it seems like there isn't a set beauty standard among the younger generation, but nonetheless, people choose to get surgeries. Now, why do you think this is the case?
Just ask me a question again. I didn't get your point.
Oh, sure. So as we mentioned in our talks before, it seems as though there's no typical set beauty standard among the younger generation, just like us.
Oh, yeah?
But even so, they choose to get surgeries. Why do you think that is?
Oh, yeah. There's it's very Asian stuff. There's some very high social standard, not just beauty standard, social standard. The pressing on the each individual, not just beauty standard, education and skills, their career, just about everything. So there's some kind of very specific beauty standard too, but it's changing because the society too is the shifting to the some sort of the westernized standard too. It's not still. The Korean society, the beauty standard is very, very high, but it's not very typical. It's changing to some sort of the diversification. That's my answer.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. John. It was a pleasure to hear from you today.
This is mine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good day.
All right, so Dr. Jun mentioned a few points, as he also admitted that the younger generation seems to be having a lot more diversified aspects of beauty, right? And that's definitely seeming to affect the cosmetic surgery industry, but we're still seeing a lot of people doing that because, as he mentioned, there's still a high standard of beauty.
Right.
Did any point that he made fascinate you?
Well, it was quite sad to hear that it's not just about beauty standards, but it's also the social pressure and standard that's put on people. I mean, I think people think looks is part of their competitiveness, and we in Korea live in a very competitive society. So I think it's quite sad to hear that it's not just out of self-satisfaction that people engage in surgeries, but because they want to meet the social standards that they see in our country.
And very briefly, Walter, what did you think about how he said 60% of his clients were actually inbound foreigners?
Yeah, that's quite interesting. And the fact that we sometimes would like, a lot of the Koreans like to mimic Western look in some way. This is probably a trend a long time ago, but it seems maybe it's changed. Like I mentioned before, that a lot of foreigners are now looking at Korean dramas, K-pop or K-pop idols, and think, I want to look more like that. I wish this was more popular when I was a lot younger, because it was different then, yeah.
All right, and let's now hear from what our viewers had to say on our discussion topic. So we asked them what they thought about plastic surgery, and if you take a look at the screen, you can find out what 3 of them said. So Win's fan Madex said, plastic surgery makes me feel uncomfortable. I think plastic surgery is only necessary if your well-being is at risk. Whipped for Chun Jung-guk said, personally, I wouldn't go down that route. I'm satisfied with the way I look, but you do whatever makes you happy. It's your own body, your choice. Paul Vera said, I'm worried about some surgeries that cut bone or tissue to allow changes. How much weaker will that part be if there's a small accident? So I think we're going to be talking about our viewers' comments as we continue on to the final final part of our discussion. So based on our discussion today, guys, how do you guys, what would you guys like to define beauty as now? And how would you now perceive plastic surgery, starting with Sihi?
Right. Well, remember when I said healthy is something that looks different on everybody, right? So I think it's the same for beauty as well. It looks different on everybody. It looks different on everybody, meaning that uniqueness is important as long as you're not too overly conscious or focused on looks, only looks, then I think, and also the understanding that beauty is something unique to everyone, I think it's okay to even have plastic surgeries because I think it's a healthy way of expressing yourself. And if it's for your self-satisfaction or just to boost that confidence of yourself, then I think it's a really healthy way. And just like one of our commenters said, whatever makes you happy, go for it.
Whatever makes you happy, because it's your body, your choice. And what about you, Walter? Any final thoughts?
Well, now I've given more motivation to get the butt implants done, so I'm going to make my appointment today. But yes, to me, beauty is subjective. What I think is attractive is probably not what you think is attractive, which is okay. So that means everybody has a different style. Everyone is beautiful to somebody else. However, everything in moderation. If you do want to get that surgery, I think it's okay as long as it gives you the confidence. But sometimes I think too much of something can kind of have the opposite effect, and therefore maybe it could actually decrease your confidence. But everything in moderation. You're beautiful no matter what anybody else says.
I love that. You're beautiful no matter what. That's a great message to end today's discussion. So the bottom line of today is that the new generation seems to be much more open to diversity and respecting individuals' distinctive stances on beauty. And we'll be here every day from 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you the topics that young people are talking about. Special thanks to Ji-hee.
Thank you.
And Walter Lee.
Always lovely to be here.
Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. We are
News Generation.